change with the chance to thrive. Crystal is the one to stir up gifts and save lives. You get exposure, promotion, and marketing too. And advertise for business owners just like you. On Storytime, your interview is global. Virtual or in person, just come on the show. Yo, your story matters. Crystals will open the door. 40 years of experience, ready to give you more on Storytime. Get ready for Storytime. Hey, come on.
Myself up, and I'm going to remove this here from in front of you, and I want to say hello, welcome. So yes, our guest is excited. He's going to be running again, and that's always a beautiful thing. We're always excited to be able to help individuals to do that, and some of you have seen his face and you know him if you're in the Triangle area, and some of you may not, but I guarantee you it is going to be well worth the wait. So we're going to get this going. We thank you for your patience. I always like to start with a few housekeeping rules just to let people know how we do here and what Storytime is all about. Storytime is where human beings connect through life experiences. And we ask you to like, share, and comment. All right. Normally we do shows at 8 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays and 9 p.m. on Sundays. And you can always come back and do a replay. Okay. So that's one of the things we want to let you know. And right now, we want to ask you to share this with about 5 friends. 5 friends. Okay. And again, I want to reiterate, if you will take a few moments and do us a favor and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And let me tell you the reason why we do that, because what happens is when we bring our guest up, his family members a lot of times will be there and they're making comments, and it's just it's a great way to engage and to let them know that you're supporting them and that you're here. And so they enjoy it, and we would love it if you would do that for us today. So right now we're going to, without further ado, we're going to bring our guest up so you can see who we're talking about here. We're going to introduce to some and present to others the Honorable David Kelsey Baker. All right, so get ready. Miss David, are you there? Hello.
Hey there, Crystal. Thank you so much for having me on tonight.
Yes. How you doing? Long day today?
Long day indeed. That's not something, I'm not unfamiliar with long days, but really excited and happy to cap it off with this conversation we're going to have tonight. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to appear on your platform and tell my story.
Yes. And it's a blessing, and it's definitely an honor to be able to do it, and I'm sure you hear a lot of stories in your field. You hear a lot of stories, don't you?
I hear many stories. Some have a little more ring of truth than others, but a lot of stories indeed.
Wow. Well, let me tell you how I normally do this show, right? So what we normally do for the people in the front of the room and the back, we normally give them the opportunity, along with everything that I'm going to tell them, and everything they'll learn throughout the interview is I give you the opportunity to kind of give an introduction. And the introduction I always ask people to do is to take us back to childhood. Like I always start with this question, and the question is real simple. It is, who is that little boy, or who was that little boy, David Baker? Where's he from? Tell us a little bit about your upbringing, your family, and bring us up to speed. Who was that little boy, David Baker?
Yeah. So, I like to remind people, particularly since, I'm here in North Carolina, specifically Wake County and Raleigh. My roots come out of Southeast Raleigh. I grew up in a neighborhood called Biltmore Hills. And anybody familiar with Raleigh, at least I say, those are older folks, those of us who are natives to Raleigh, you may know Biltmore Hills, but I grew up on a little street called Waters Drive. Um, in a blue and white house at the top of the hill, where I was able to just really enjoy feeling. I thought about that today. I had the benefit of feeling safe and supported in that neighborhood. I knew everybody on the street. My parents knew everyone on the street. And so, my early days were spent playing kickball and dodgeball, uh, tag and tackle football in the streets. Um, Able to ride my BMX bike with my brother across to Kingwood, and some days we would go a little further than we probably were supposed to, going everywhere. But it was for me, I think about that now as how in terms of how kids grow up now, and I had that sense of safety, where you leave early in the morning in the summer and you come back, sweaty and tired, just in time to get dinner. But there was safety in that. And think about my neighbors, you know, um, to my right, Mr. Dennis Davis, and Carol Davis. Their boys were my best friends, and some days we'd fight, but other days we were playing basketball all day together. To my left, Mr. and Mrs. Massenberg, and they're the folks who, if my mama wasn't home, they're looking out, and my mama wouldn't know exactly what happened, when she got back, because they were looking out. And there's just something special about having a community like that. And then I think about my parents who formed the foundation for me. Anybody who knows me knows I'm inquisitive. I'm curious. Um, I don't believe there's anything that we can't accomplish. My dad taught me that there's no such word as can't. And being a precocious kid, I said, well, can't. I just said it. Yes, it is. But the point was not missed on me. That what he was trying to say is that I'm not going to accept you uh, making excuses. That it's important that you believe that you can accomplish whatever you set your mind to. And little boy to now being, I guess we would say middle age, I still believe that. There's no such thing as can. I've tried to pass that on to my own children. And so that's at the core. I'm still that curious kid. I asked my dad one time. He jokes me now. I said, we're talking about running away from home. I said, well, how fast would I need to run if I'm going to run away from home? Uh, and that was the mind of young David back in those days. But I'm still asking the same questions. You know, I mean,
Wow.
why can't we, when you tell me we've got homelessness, why can't we fix that? Why can't we address world hunger? Why should anybody go to bed, uh, or not have a roof over their head? So
That's it.
that really takes me back, and thank you for giving me that opportunity to reflect.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. Now, you said something. You took me back because you talked about that tag on the street and the red light, green light, and the things where the children, we were actually outside. And they use the term now like we outside, right? But they weren't
Hmm.
really outside like we were. We were
No.
really outside, we were out there till the street lights came on. These kids today, they're on electronic, they sitting down on a PlayStation, but we literally were outside.
Yes.
We literally knew our neighbors, and we had family. We had, if we didn't have to worry about just our parents, if we did something, our neighbors would get us too. It
Hmm.
was the village. It was really the village back then. So it times have changed. They have definitely changed. And I know you see that more than anything. So when you were a little boy from Southeast Raleigh, Now, did you dream about wanting to do something in the community like you're doing now, to serve in the capacity you're serving? Or what was it that you wanted to do when you were a child? And they said to you in school, what would you like to be when you grow up?
Yep. So and this is so I get a chance every now and then to speak to young people in school, and there's so much pressure to have it all figured out. And thankfully, we live in a world where there are lots of opportunity and options of what you can do and what you can be, who you can be, and how you live your life. And um, I'll tell you the truth. I didn't have a specific career in mind. What I did do, because I knew people gonna ask, even as early as elementary school, and so I had a few answers I would give just to be able to, let me, I know Aunt so and so gonna ask, or so let me have a few answers. And so back in the day, if you met me when I was around 10, 11, 12, I might have said I was gonna be a dentist, a psychologist, maybe a doctor. I had a few can't, but I'll be honest with you. Even I love the fact one of the things that drew me to the law is just the fact that it's flexible. I've never been one of these people who wanted to be pigeonholed. A lot of folks in my family said I was going to be a preacher, and I never said no, that's not going to happen. But I don't know. I just never felt like I needed to or had to choose, and I haven't been even now. I my job is a judge, but there's so much more. And that's just kind of been the way I've been. But I always knew, and I'm saying this to the young people, you can feel that pressure because you do have to make a decision. And obviously, I made a decision about getting on a path, but you know the labels, these titles, that's something I've just inherently have tried to avoid.
So let me ask you this. Now, can I call you David while we have this conversation?
Absolutely.
So, David, let me ask you this. When you were small, some people like you can see and you be like, oh, yeah, I knew he was going to be a judge. I knew he was going to be this. I mean, did you get into trouble as a child or did you hang around with the wrong crowd sometimes? I mean, did you go through the challenges of life? I mean, because a lot of times what people need to see and hear is that it is possible to change your life. It is possible to redirect and to make better choices. And sometimes we don't always do that in the beginning.
Yeah. So Crystal, just between me and you, um, I grew up as a child and I like to fight. Yeah, I like to fight it. In public, for the most part, I was a pretty quiet kid, but I was always ready to tussle.
Okay, you
And
would like me then, but did you get? Let me ask you, because I always got the first blow. Though I let a person bully me, but when
mhm.
finally came down, so you like to fight? Was it because you were pushed into that? Because somebody would always bully you or bother you, and you just got sick and tired of being sick and tired? How did that come about?
Yeah, so yeah, thank you, because I want to clarify. Yeah, I didn't start fights. But I was ready and I grew up, I talk about growing up in Biltmore Hills. Biltmore Hills was adjacent to a whole lot of other neighborhoods. Um, and some of the kids I was in school with and played ball with, they believed they were pretty tough. And sometimes the way it goes is they think because you live on that little house on the hill,
Mm-hmm.
you soft. And so I was just always ready. And part of it, I was never, I'm still not a big guy, but I've already figured out three different ways I'm gonna get you if you come at me.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing about it. I'll tell you because um, I'm I am one. I have three siblings, and I'm the second oldest. Before the most of the time, I was the middle child. I still think of myself as the middle child. Um, and so, you know, when my big sister was able, she would, push me a little bit. I hadn't hit a growth spurt. She was stronger and bigger. So we get in fights every now and then. And then my younger brother, he would challenge me for whatever reason. And so, these guys, it's family. So we not trying to hurt each other, but, like little puppies, we didn't mind wrestling and fighting and all of that. And then we looked out for each other when we left the house, right? You know how that goes.
Yes, yes.
Um, but yeah, I just always had a certain edge or toughness. that's still with me now. But what really got my attention, probably around age 12 or 13, my mom, she saw, because I would get angry, and when I got angry, like I said, that would be a problem. And she said to me, she said, David, I really worry that you're gonna let your anger get the best of you, and I'm afraid that you would end up behind bars if you don't, if you don't get this under control. Um, and that really sat with me because I was good. You asked me did I get in trouble. Over generally, I was a good kid, but when I got angry, I got angry. And when she said that, it just got my attention. And I'm telling you, I've practiced patience in a way since that young age that has me.
And I think we just froze up a
And so a
moment.
lot of people, interestingly, a lot of people know me to be extraordinarily patient, but they don't know the road that I've traveled to get to this place because it didn't start out that way. I didn't start
Wow.
out super patient. It's just thankfully over the years I've had a lot of opportunity to practice patience.
And that's good because being a person to sit up on the judge's chamber and seeing individuals that come in there, I'm sure you see it all. You see those that are angry, you see those that, have come in that you would never expect to see, and you see those that you would expect to see. And I'm sure you get a chance to really pass on that wisdom to them to help them to change their lifestyle and to let them know that it's all a part of the process, but you have to take the lessons and then turn it around for the better. So is that part of the rewarding experience for you, being able to impart that knowledge onto those young people? Can you hear me okay? Because I think something happened with the Wi-Fi. I don't know. Do you have Wi-Fi on or off?
Yeah, yeah, it looks like I got some buffering on my
Yeah, you might
end.
want to turn the Wi-Fi
Are you able
off.
to hear me?
Yes, you might want to turn it off, and that might be, you might not need to have it on, and that might make it easier for you.
Okay.
But the question is,
Yeah.
do
But
you
I,
find yourself in a position where you can actually help others that come in there that have that anger now that you're in a position to speak into people's lives? Do you use this opportunity to help them out in that area?
yeah, and that's why I'm really glad you gave me that opportunity to share. There's not something I say all the time, but there are sometimes, particularly where young people, I try to, because sometimes people look up at you like this is how you came into the world, and to be able to be authentic and honest and say nope, 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 there was growth, development, and change. And just like for me, the fact that I can tell you where I came from, um, I hope that would inspire some young person to also believe that if they wish to make a change, they can do the same thing as well. um, and like I said, I think it helped me to be just immensely supported in ways where it's like, well, what are you angry about? I mean, just like I said, sometimes, people go through traumas and things in life, and maybe they legitimately, justifiably are angry, just bitter with the world. I didn't have any reason to be angry and bitter. What it really was is somewhat a little bit of insecurity and just the fact that you know, taking things personal. Like,
Right.
how dare you, you step to me this way, and I'm gonna show you, don't ever do it again. And maybe there's something righteous about that, but not when you're disproportionate,
That's
right?
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that was the opportunity for me to learn, and I hope in sharing, part of that, it inspires someone else.
So not only did you wind up becoming a judge, but you went to a HBCU. You got an HBCU experience. You pledged uh, awesome fraternity. You became married and have children. So you have so many different things that you've accomplished. And out of all those things, which one is it that is like the most valuable to you? I mean, I'm sure all of them, there are lessons and blessings in every category, but out of all of them, at the end of the day, where are we gonna find you? Being a family
Yeah.
man, sitting at home with the family, out in the community, or out there with the bros?
Oh well, we listen. I'm gonna tell you the probably one of the best decisions. It comes at the top. I got to give it to like I found. I married my college sweetheart, and like I mean, that woman is we talk about a rib. She's a rib, and all of that. And just I'd say like a really good quality decision, because it's crazy. You gotta So we'll be celebrating 30 years of marriage in July, right? So that means we got married at a very early age. And I know for a lot of men, it's like, man, that's your prime. Why would you do that? I knew I found someone extraordinary, a woman who was uniquely special, made for me. And by deciding that we would join our lives together and partner like that, that really has been, that's the foundation, in terms of the man you see today.
Wow.
And I don't want to, I think we both support each other in ways where we bring out the best in each other. So I don't want to make it sound like, well, I was nothing without her or she was nothing. No, it's not like that. But there's a compatibility,
Yes.
that allows us to really strengthen each other and support one another in healthy ways. And so my wife, Twanda, has been just like a real partner at every step and every stage. And so people know, like, it's almost like, you got peanut butter and jelly,
Mm.
cheese and crackers. It's David and Twanda, right? Like,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, that's people, and people know, they know me, they know, like, she's not usually going to be far behind. In fact, usually when I'm out and she's not there, I get a little bit annoyed because people are like, where's your wife? But it's only because they're so used to seeing us working together, and whether I'm in the community, out at social events, we're that close. And that's just been really, really rewarding for me, obviously, having built a family together.
And she really, really, really does have a sweet spirit. She has a sweet spirit. And she had your back today when I saw her earlier, and I
Right.
said, yes. But, and you have children too. How many children you have?
Yeah, so we have three children. They're adults now, one daughter and two boys.
Wow. Well, before we go any further, I think this is a great time for me to take a moment and show this slideshow. I always take a moment and put together a slideshow when I ask my guests to send me pictures and let me know. And one of the things we like to do to make us different from other podcasts is we take that and we kind of put it into a slideshow, and in honor of you and everything that you have done. So I did that. I took the picture that you
Oh,
gave me.
wow.
I went and I snuck around and got a little more. So I
Okay.
want to see how you like this slideshow that we put together, and you tell me what you think afterwards. But ladies and gentlemen, if you're just coming in, we're talking to the Honorable David Kelsey Baker, and we're just getting to know him a little bit, and we're finding out more about who he's been as a little child and the man he has become. But let's take a sneak peek at this slideshow before we go any further.
Oh, wow, that was awesome.
You like that?
Thank you, thank you. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. That was wonderful.
Tried to capture a little bit of everything now. Talk to the people who never really understood what it means to be a Phi Beta Sigma man. I know you just said you just came in from doing some community work. A lot of time people they
That's
see the
right.
sex shows and all that, but they don't really know the heart of the Phi Beta Sigma. So tell the people, what did that mean? Why are you so proud to be one?
Yeah, so our principles are brotherhood, scholarship, and service, and I try to embody that in everything that I do. Um, I will tell you that I came into the fraternity one because some of the greatest men that I knew in the community were men of Phi Beta Sigma. One of which is my father, Laddie Baker. He's a member of Phi Beta Sigma. He joined when he was a student at St. Augustine's College back in the 60s. And as I was growing up, we'd be out at the store, grocery store. Back then we shopped at Kmart or wherever. And he might run into somebody he knows, and almost inevitably he would let me know, that's a man of Sigma. And so many prominent men in Raleigh were part of Phi Beta Sigma fraternity. In particular, the Eta Sigma chapter here in Raleigh, North Carolina, that's 103 years old. But men like Dr. Honorable Brother Dr. Dudley Flood, who was a pioneer in education and instrumental in desegregating schools all throughout North Carolina, and then speaking all over the country about quality education. Men like the Honorable George Green and the Honorable Stafford Bullock, the first two African American judges in Wake County, right?
Wow.
These were men of Phi Beta Sigma. Dr. Wiley Davis, um,
Mm,
who's passed away, but anybody who went to attended St. Augustine's, you
yes,
can't, in that era, you knew Dr. Davis.
yes.
There's just so many people, even now, John Milner, Honorable Brother John Milner, like these are just good, solid men. And so my impression of Phi Beta Sigma was sealed a long, long time ago, even as a child. And then when I got on the campus of UNC Chapel Hill, I saw the brothers who were participating in the protest for a freestanding Black Cultural Center. They were leading the movement with our Black student movement. And I saw Sigmas at the front lines.
Wow.
And so that stood out. That really, really stood out to me. And so it was an easy choice, just given my foundation that my father had laid. And I guess I should mention, too, my mom's a member of Zeta Phi Beta sorority as well,
Okay.
also a
Okay.
graduate of St. Augustine's, also. But like my educators, Dr. Alice Garrett, um, she taught me U.S.
Oh,
history. She was the person who, many people know my connection with the African American Cultural Festival. Well, when I was just in the 10th grade, she wanted to, we wanted to start an African American cultural or African American studies club in high school, Athens Drive High School. And she saw something in me and encouraged me to be the president of the first African American Studies Club at Athens Drive High School, way, way back then. And she was a member of Zeta Phi Beta. And, as part of that club, she brought in other people that she knew who were also part of the blue and white family. And so it's just part of how I've been raised. And an interesting a little bit of trivia. I'm born on January 9th. That
mm-hmm.
is the date that Phi Beta Sigma was founded. And so I just don't think it could be any other way
Wow.
for me in that regard. And yes, I love serving with my brothers. We finished that. We were doing our Christmas outreach tonight, uh, delivering and getting toys to about 38 young people. And yeah, it's just a great way to serve and build camaraderie, particularly amongst the brothers, and that support has been invaluable for me.
Excellent. Now I know that your in-laws and you were close to her, Miss Good, and I know she called you her son, even though you're her son-in-law and
Oh
your
yeah,
father-in-law. Talk to me about that. So it sounds like you have a double dose between your parents and your parents-in-law. A lot of people don't get that lucky. Some people be ducking their parents-in-law, but it sounds like you got a good deal.
yeah, Crystal, and that's why I'm telling you. I we all have stress and things to worry about, but I'm truly grateful, and so I show up fully ensconced in gratitude. I told you, and it was so neat to see those pictures of my children when they were small. Uh,
Yes.
not only did we have three young kids, in fact, on my first day of law school, my youngest, Daniel, was just 4 months old, right?
Mm.
Kids are
Wow.
basically years apart. And
Wow.
so without that love support from my family, inclusive of my mother in love and um, just the whole family, yeah, you wouldn't. My story would be a lot different. And so I'm really the product of a whole lot of people pouring in and offering support. And so
Wow.
it really does me to do the same for others.
And you do that. I know I remember having a conversation with you about how you feel about the youth. Now, I know that you're a leader in the community. You have a lot of affiliations and everything. And you also sit on the advisory board for Southeast Raleigh YMCA. Talk to me about how great the YMCA is and the things that they're doing in the community as someone who sits on that board.
Yeah, so if you drive down the Rock Quarry Road corridor, you gotta see. You notice the state of the art facility that was came about in 2016. I got to be a part of that early visioning process for that. Not just the Y, but the Y School project, and now you see the retail development and commercial development that's come alongside that, along with the affordable housing. Um, and so years in advance of you ever being like a brick being laid, myself, along with a host of others, including people like Courtney Crowder, Dexter Hebert, who's the executive director there, Yvette Holmes. There's so many others. Dr. Detlef Flood. Once again, we were getting up early to think about what that might look like. And so, one, I will say, and it should come across, I'm really proud of my work with the Y, particularly the folks over there like Dexter, who are getting it done every
Yes,
day,
Dexter, it's good
right?
people. My daughter used to work with Dexter, and then you also deal with the what is it, the John Rex Endowment?
That's right. That's right. So just like the Y is in the community, promoting just health in mind, body, and spirit. The John Rex Endowment is a foundation where our grants are aimed at building the capacity of organizations that improve the social emotional health of children that center racial equity and justice. And so I'm very proud to serve with that organization. One of the things we try to do differently there is employ what's called trust-based philanthropy,
Okay.
because oftentimes the folks with the money are dictating the way things have to get done. There's these onerous reporting requirements. John Rex is making the foundation is making an earnest attempt to do things differently. And so, yeah, definitely glad to be a part of that. And ultimately, at the end, those dollars are deployed to make sure that children can have opportunities like what I had, which is to grow up
Wow.
in a safe and healthy environment.
So now, David, before we go into this re-election, because I know that you're looking forward to go back and serve and run again, but tell the people something they don't know about you. Like when you're not serving, when you're not out there doing these things in the community, what does David like to do? Do you fish or do you bowl? What is your pastime hobby?
Just this past weekend, I had some time with family. We were celebrating my aunt's birthday, and because in this role you present a certain way, um, and most of the time I am pretty serious and straight laced. But I love to make people laugh. I love to joke. I listen on the spades table. You know how I told you.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. You know how I told you. Trying to get over not being angry, but I will cut you on
Let
the
me
spades
find out.
table.
You can play suspect. Now I got a question for you because I had to deal with this last week. Do you play with the jokers and the deuces diamond, or do you just play ace down?
No, it's Joker, Deuce, Ace.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay. Well,
yeah.
listen, we might
I've
have to.
had some people try to introduce all that, like, and I don't know if they like, well, yeah, we do. That's how we do it, and so and so. Nah,
Yeah.
well, we're not there. That's not how we do it here.
Okay. So you like to
But
have
yeah,
fun.
so I really enjoy time with family. I love slow cook, smoking meats. It's been said that I do a awesome brisket.
Okay.
Yeah, brisket, slow cooked ribs. Those are and just part of it is like that's one way to bring the family together. So
Okay.
and I enjoy it. I love it.
Well, listen. I think we found out last year that we got some family ties in there through the Jones family. So listen, I hope I get one of them invites when you putting the brisket on there one day, one time in the summer or something.
Hey,
Definitely that would be really nice.
it's not even a question. We're
That's
definitely
good.
gonna make that happen.
So you with the class clown, you like to tell some jokes too? You got some jokes in? You got some
You know,
jokes.
you asked me earlier if I ever got in trouble, and I'm telling you, in fact, my teachers, I took mention Dr. Alice Garrett. She'll tell you I was a great student, well behaved, but every now and then, I would cut up, and somehow every time I cut up, I get caught. I'd be the one that got caught.
Now,
Um,
Alice Garrett, is that the one that was the principal over
yes,
where is she still alive?
yes, Dr. Garrett retired, I believe, as the principal at Carroll Middle School, but she was my U.S. history teacher over at Athens Drive.
Now the Alice Garrett, I know
She's got a long storied career and a
Mhm.
big influence on a lot of students, including myself. So that's why I always lift her up. And she's one of those people. She'll call on me, and if she calls, I'm going to answer that call.
Well, let me ask you something. She worked at Enloe too, though, right?
I believe she did. I can't say for sure, but I think she did have some time at Enloe as
She
well.
was a vice principal or a principal, and I please put me in contact with her. When I was taking artists into the school back in the 90s, that's when I met Doc Essence, Kimberly and all of them, Clarice, India, and Amber. It was I had to get permission from Alice Garrett. And we went in
Okay.
there and we took in who we take into the school. I think I took in at that time Michael Speaks. I had Ashanti, I had Michael Speaks, I had Big L, I had a couple of artists, and we had Shabba Ranks. We had a
Oh,
couple of
wow.
people, and we took some of these, we were taking them into the school. And Alice Garrett was the person I still have correspondence from Alice Garrett. So please, if you are in contact with her, I would absolutely
Oh,
love
yeah.
to
That's
say
that's
hello
easy.
to her.
I can do that.
Wow, amazing. So now, David, let's talk about this. Re-election time is coming up. Some people they miss some of these dates. They think it's only about the president and things like that. But let's talk about the importance of people really participating, what your role would be, what you're running for, and why it's important that they actually participate in the election process. Can you talk about that a minute, please?
Yeah, and Crystal, you're so right. I mean, people really do focus on the national and federal elections, and those are important. But I hope folks realize, particularly in this time, that local elections are supremely important. And so, for example, like when you think about district court, and that's the role that I'm vying for. This would be my second term elected, but overall, I was appointed in 2019, stood for re-election in 22, and now standing for re-election again. I'll be on the ballot in 26. Well, district court really is where most people, if you ever end up in court, will likely find yourself. And district court does include things as simple as a traffic ticket, but also on this criminal side is as serious as felony offenses. And then on the civil side, even today, I'm making decisions on cases involving hundreds of thousands of dollars in contract disputes. And so this is sort of where the courts and real life meet. And you want someone in that role who obviously is going to follow the law. But I always tell people before you can follow the law, you've got to listen. You need to be able to listen well, and then apply the facts and the law appropriately, and not with any fear or favor for anyone based on any prejudice or anything like that. And so this judicial election, and I know oftentimes people don't know who the candidates are. That's why I really appreciate this opportunity to get out here for people to see that, it's one, judges are people too. And the same person that folks know me to be in the community, someone who cares, someone who treats everyone with dignity and respect, that's the same person when I put on that robe. I don't, with regard to my colleagues in Wake County, I think I can say we have a good bench, and everybody tries to do a good job. But occasionally there are folks who, when they get the robe, they're a different person. And
Wow.
so you want this opportunity, for me, it's really special to get to just talk one-on-one with you in this sort of relaxed atmosphere so that people understand the man behind the robe. Um,
Yes.
yeah, yep.
Yeah.
So one of the things I did want to point out, you put a picture in the slideshow. It was
Yes.
me and 6 other judges.
Yes.
That picture
Yeah.
is special and unique.
Yes.
One of the judges in there is Judge Stafford Bullock, and I mentioned he was the first African American judge to be appointed to the district court. And along with that picture, with me in that picture, are the only, like, in the history of all of Wake County Court, the 7 of us. Well, it'll be 8 if we had Judge Green, but he had passed. That's it. That's all the African American male judges that have occupied this role. And so we're still making history. We're still breaking barriers. Um, and it just, sometimes I think people need that perspective to understand the enormity of the opportunity that I'm vying for, and this role that we hold. But it requires the community support. It requires that
Wow.
people know who's on the ballot and vote with with good information. And that's what
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to do throughout this election cycle, not just for this race, but for other races on the ballot, from our county to the municipal races. They all matter. And so I'm going to be driving the get out the vote message, in addition to asking folks to vote for me, those who reside in my district.
And I want to ask the question because I've seen a lot online in the last year or so about people coming into the courtroom looking any kind of way. I would love for you to address that a moment. I mean, I don't know if it's the parents, they're not seeing their children when they're heading out, or the kids is living by themselves and they just grown. When we were coming up, you went to court looking a certain kind of way. There was a dress code. Can you talk about that a minute? Because I don't know what in the heck I've been seeing here. People don't even have a collar shirt anymore. From a judge's perspective, can you just speak to how that makes a difference when a person appears before a judge and how they dressed?
So here's what I'll say. And my assignment for the last 2 years, one of my assignments has been juvenile court in particular. And so I make a point to acknowledge and give praise when young people dress with a button-down shirt, maybe a tie, and slacks with a belt. But more often than not, that is not how young people come to court. And the culture has shifted; it's changed. I choose not um, to make that an issue. And one of the reasons why I don't make it an issue, I don't embarrass folks. I don't say step outside, come back in here when you got a certain type of clothes on, because everybody's situation is different. I do think I would love to see folks uh, dress in a way that shows respect. But I also know that these are citizens and residents of our county, and some people, that's the best they have. And so it's a really, I think it's kind of a tricky situation, to address. And
Wow.
so the way I do it is to really lift up those people who appear in front of me who have put forward that extra effort. And my hope is that would sort of send the message to someone else to say, well, maybe next time, I'll see if I can get, see if the judge notices how I dress.
Yeah.
But yeah, people, we just don't. I'm telling you, even when I was practicing, I noticed the sort of the slide in terms of how people come to court. And like I said, sometimes, not all the time, sometimes folks are coming from work. Um, but it's a really sort of sensitive topic. I'd leave it at that.
Let me ask you this. For someone who might be considering going into law, going into being a judge or working in a courtroom, how does one deal with their own personal views getting in the way when they're having to make a judgment or make a call, or how does that work?
So it is really, really important to be aware of your own biases. I have them. I have my own biases, but I counteract that by acknowledging those biases. Um, And I just think that's important. One, it's important, one, to be honest with yourself, because once you acknowledge and bring it to your awareness, then you have a better chance of making sure you're not making decisions based on assumptions, or based on a preconceived idea of who or what someone is. And we actually now have opportunities at our judges conference. These are topics that do come up. Um, and I just think it's important, if you're going to be a fair jurist, you have to be aware. Just like we were talking about the way someone dresses. In my mind, sometimes, and I say, well, okay, you kind of wearing the uniform, of all the people I see, um, who are stealing cars. Everybody kind of seems to look the same way, but I know better than to make that judgment, like to finalize and make that conclusion. But I can
Wow.
be honest with you enough to say that it may make some people uncomfortable, but
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, you know, yeah, you got the do rag on, you wearing your pants without a belt, um, you know, you look like you might have been smoking the night before, half
Mhm.
awake. I don't know, but I also know, you can't use that to make a decision.
Right.
But I'm human, and every
Yeah.
judge you come in front of is human, which is why, if I could have my way, I tell every young person, particularly every young black person, yeah, don't dress the part. It's just
Mm.
too easy for you to be prejudged.
Right.
And even sometimes when you do, you may face someone who's not aware of their own biases.
Yes.
So, don't do what you can to give yourself any advantage possible. But
That's
like
a
I
good
said, I
one.
know we did, I think sometimes that seems controversial, um, but I'd love to have a community conversation, about
Yeah.
that.
Because
And
people need
I'm
that.
always open to be educated.
Yeah. And then what about the language? Sometimes people, would you say they need to stay away from the ebonics when they come in the courtroom? The language, use full sentences and good grammar. I mean, would you say that they need to concentrate on that, even if they don't speak that way in their everyday language? When you get in the courtroom, sound like you can make some sense. Is that good advice? Would you say that? I mean, don't go in there talking. 'Cause I've
I,
seen some things when I'm like, what? Are they really saying this in the job? And some people can't help themselves, but those that can help
yeah.
themselves, uh, be respectful and talk correctly. Because I don't think too many people, y'all don't have too many problems with people coming there with the wrong kind of tone. Because I know they'll get kicked out the courtroom quick with that.
I've had situations where someone, you know, say we're doing a first appearance, and I'll say, good afternoon, Mr. Johnson. The charges to bring you before the court include, felony larceny, blah 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 blah. And they may respond by saying, "Okay, okay, that's what's up, bruh. That's what's up." I've just learned not to take offense. I just say, I'll politely say, "I'll tell you what, that is not the appropriate way to address the court."
Wow.
I'll just address it like that.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I don't use that to make any adverse ruling. Um, and I just usually I'll see that as an opportunity to educate. Um,
Yes.
Now, if there's no change or no shift as the conversation proceeds, they might have to take a different tact. But
Yes.
what I hear you saying, and I do agree. We've used, you can call it code switching if you want to. I mean, there's a time and place for everything. And so again, this is where, like I'm saying, I'm aware as a judge. I would prefer for folks who are in front of me to have a certain self-awareness as well. But the truth is, that's not always the case.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
my job is to be professional and to meet people where they are. And ultimately, this is not just in the courtroom, but in life. Don't take it personal.
So let me ask you this question. Let me see. I need to make sure I word this right. There's very few of us in the courtroom. We're the lowest percentage that look like us, African American judges, as you said. So when we as a people go in front of those that don't look like us, is it really really important that they're mindful of how they look and how they speak? Because you might come across people who have biases and have other ways that we may not know about, but it is probably smart and wise to take those extra measures to just to be safe. Would you say that?
So this takes me back to when I was practicing law. And my law practice, I was law for about 13 years before coming onto the bench. And so I would always advise my clients about how to present. Now, not everybody would take that advice, and it doesn't make, it's not right for someone to be treated differently, based on perhaps how they speak, as long as it's respectful. But even if the grammar is not perfect, so I want to make it clear. It doesn't make it right. But again, these are things that, are practical.
Yes.
And we just live in a time where, even you asked me the question, I'm kind of walking on eggshells because some people reject the idea, we call it respectability politics. And some people say, well, I shouldn't have to do that. My children shouldn't have to do that. I don't necessarily disagree with that. But from a strategic standpoint, that's how I would advise my clients.
Yes.
When you're coming into court, I'm right there with you, but this is how I want you to present yourself, because this is the image we want to portray, and the message we want to send. And
Yes.
so yeah, that's that. If it was my child, that's the same advice I would give my child. You're
Yes.
gonna you're gonna show up, putting yourself in the best possible light.
Yes. Two more questions I have for you. I'm gonna call you Mr. Baker on that note. Uh, what is what inspired you to want to even become a judge, and how did you go about it? What path did you take to get there?
Yeah. So, and I'll try to get through this as quick as I can, but um, you know, the first decision was to go to law school and be a lawyer. And that really came about because I had been working in social justice, economic justice. I worked as a community organizer for a number of years, and enjoyed the work, enjoyed working with people, enjoyed sort of being in that empowerment space. But I told you earlier, I had 3 kids, got a wife, and working in the nonprofit sector and social justice just wasn't getting it done. And so I saw how I could be an advocate in a more valuable way, bring more value to the community and to the work. And so that's what led me to go to law school. And people would ask me all the time, about politics, if I wanted to be a judge. And all I would say is, well, when that time comes, I want to be ready. But no, I'm not particularly aiming for that. Well, like I said, after about 13 years of practicing law, after serving and helping thousands and thousands of people, in 2019, I knew that it was time for me to make a shift and to do something, or to help out in a more meaningful way, in the administration of justice. And some of that was because some of the experiences I had in the courtroom. I knew I had done a good job for my client, and all I got was, at the end of the case, was guilty, right? With no explanation. And I just felt like, well, that's not the way litigants should be treated. And it really, that did influence me to want to be a part of providing a good experience for the citizens of North Carolina,
Wow.
an experience that lived up to the values that we say we stand for when we talk about a system of justice.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Baker, can you share a memorable or unusual experience from your time on the bench that influenced your perspective of the legal system?
Mm. Well, let's see. I'll tell you what. So, as a judge, we have great discretion, in many respects, and this story is just more so because it's came across recently. But in my early years, between 2019 and about 2021, I presided over family court. I was a dedicated family court judge, and there was a kind of complex situation where this grandmother I'd assigned her to be the supervisor for her son who was struggling with drug addiction. And I mean, he was in it, his addiction was pretty bad, where he had overdosed several times. And she was trying to protect him, but she also wanted to see her grandbaby, right? So grandma's kind of caught in the middle, but what I saw her doing was enabling and covering for him, and
Mm,
even coming to court, not lying, but just trying to make sure that her son didn't lose his visitation with the child. But I saw also you're enabling and protecting this your son. And I just, so many cases in family court, they'll pull on your heartstrings, but they also, let you see that, like people need a lot of help. And I just, at the end of this case, and these folks had come in and out of the courtroom quite often because there was just lots and lots of conflict. I told her, I said, listen, I know you think you're helping your son and you think you're helping your grandson, but um, you're not. You're not helping them at all, and you need to educate yourself about addiction and the ways that you can help, because otherwise, you're not only not going to be able to see your grandson, but your son is going to die. Full circle moment.
Wow.
Just about 4 weeks ago, that same grandma showed up. I preside over our adult drug recovery court.
Okay.
Well, that grandma came back and she said, and she's got to speak to the recovery court folks. She's never had a drug problem, but she took my advice. She educated herself on how you help people in addiction and how do you support as a loving family member. And now she's a part of a group called Recovery Alive, right?
Yeah.
And she came and she spoke and she said, I hated when you said that. I did not like it. I did not like you basically telling me about me, but I thank you so much, Judge Baker. And now she's helping countless families
Wow.
who are having to deal with addiction. And so, it just makes me think about, because every day, I don't always feel like I'm making a difference. Some days I feel like I'm just an administrator, going through the motions. Who's next? District court is a lot. We see a lot of people. And so it just stands out to me when we have those moments where I know I made a difference in someone's life. And she was able to report her son is doing well. He's in recovery and pursuing his sobriety. And she also has a healthy grandbaby who she gets to see on a regular basis. And she said that really, you talking to me that way and telling me straight up, really, really made a difference. And so that's something I'm exceedingly proud about.
Wow. Well, as we get ready to bring this to a close, I want to respect your time and I want to let you know what some people are saying. We got about that, Rolland. Thank you for being here. I do see here where, what is her name? SDUCC supports Honorable Baker in reaching out for the community. And that is Pastor Perry. Pastor Perry.
Yes, yes, yes. That's my Saints Delight United Church of Christ family,
Yes.
located in Lewisburg, North Carolina. Like I said, I've been exceedingly blessed with support. I this is I would say my wife's family, but we've been married so long, it's just one family. But they have loved on me and supported me, and so thank you so much for that uh, kind message.
And there's your wife. She said, I love him as much as he loved me. She said, thanks, baby. I did well. She said, I did well for myself too. So that's so special. And about that, Wallet, thank you so much for being here. He says, good evening. And when you were talking about her, she said, that's me. She said, I did well about myself. So that's good. Good evening to you too, Jalaki. And for those of you that are coming in, you can still leave a comment. If you go back and do the replay, because this will be up on several different platforms, you can still leave a comment and say hello. If you had an encounter with Judge Baker and he changed your life, he did like the grandmother said, leave a comment. Say, you know what, Judge Baker, I never got an opportunity to tell you this, but I want to tell you now. This is an opportunity for you to do that. You may not sometimes bump into people, but you may be scrolling through a line and you may see this face and you may say, you know what, that's the judge that made me change my life. Put it in the comments and let him know. I guarantee it will make his day. And at this time, what I love
Yeah,
to let you
absolutely.
do is if there's someone that you want to thank that helped you, if it's a parent, if it's family, if it's staff, anyone, anything like that you want to say. I always like to give my guests the opportunity to give flowers. If there's anyone that you would like to thank for the last term that you did and for the term that's getting ready to take place, people who might be helping you with your campaign. Anything you'd like to say to any other people, I'll give you the chance to do that.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Crystal, because you were one of the first people to reach out to me. I made a post on social media announcing my bid for reelection, and you reached out to me promptly and quickly. And so, thank you for bringing this to fruition. This wonderful opportunity. But one of the things that when I made that post, I was overwhelmed with the amount of support, the number of people who shared the post, who made some of those glowing comments that you're talking about, a number of endorsements. Um, to say the least, I was overwhelmed uh, and filled with gratitude. And I just want to say one, thank you to each and every person who took the time to comment, like, or share that particular post. What I know is that I stand on the shoulders of many others who came before me. I talked about Judge Green and Judge Stafford Bullock, but
Right.
even my immediate predecessor, Judge Croom, um, you know, and then the judges who I serve with now, like we are, we all strive to do our very best, and that's my commitment to the people who supported me all these years. I know I didn't get here by myself,
Yeah.
and so I'm lifted up, I'm encouraged, and look forward to um, uh, another 4 years of serving the people of North Carolina in this role as district court judge, and ready to run this race. And even beyond that, as we say, we're going to run on and see what the end is going to be. Like I said, I'm energized and enthused just by all the wonderful support. I didn't even mention my Poplar Springs church family, my pastor, Charles Brooks, someone who's poured into me ever since I was a little child. And so I have every single reason, not only to be grateful, but also to give back. And that's what I intend to do for all the days of my life, is to give back and figure out ways I can make this world a better place.
Wow, that's amazing. And so, with that being said, I normally do tell people any closing comments, any questions I didn't ask you that you may have wanted to mention about your mission, your goals, or just any topic that perhaps you wanted to share with this opportunity in regards to just letting people know what your legacy is all about, and just any closing comments that you want. I'll give you the floor, because I know that last time was just basically to say thank you, but now this is like giving people the reason. If you just tuned in, this man right here is running again for re-election. He's running again for re-election in 2026 in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. So we're going to give him an opportunity to let you know why you need to look for his name on the ballot and why you want to definitely vote for him. And you have the floor, sir.
That's right. And so you can visit electjudgedavidbaker.com. If you want to plug in with the campaign, there's a link there where you can share your endorsement. And you can also make a contribution if you'd like to contribute financially to the campaign. There's a little bit of material there if you want to learn more about me, or if you just want to reach out and send me a email. If you do have any questions, that's one way you can reach me. What I will say is that my promise today is just the same as it was 6 years ago when I took my oath. And again, that is to treat every single person who comes in front of me, regardless of class, regardless of race, gender, creed, or color, to treat every single person with dignity and respect, to lean in and to listen well, to listen carefully, and then to apply the facts to the law without fear of favor, and to always follow the rule of law. We're at a unique time in this country where there are folks who attack the courts, and that comes with some inherent dangers to judges personally, but also in terms of the erosion of our democracy. And so I want people to appreciate fundamentally what it means that we have the rule of law, that you can settle your disputes peaceably in court, knowing that someone is going to treat you fairly. May not go your way, but you know that you were listened, you were heard, and that the outcome is based purely on the law and nothing else. And that's my promise to the people of North Carolina. And so I'm asking for your support. For those who are able to vote in District 10B, I'll be on the ballot and ask for your support. And those who are not in that district, your support still means a lot to me. And so your prayerful support, anything you can do to help in this cause is greatly appreciated. And once again, Crystal, thank you so much for this phenomenal opportunity.
You're welcome. And you have heard from the Honorable David Kelsey Baker, running for District 10. Make sure leave a comment, go back, share, let somebody know. If you didn't know, now you know. And you've been watching Storytime. We're here on 8 p.m. Eastern and 9 p.m. on Sundays, 8 p.m. on Wednesdays. All right. If you have a story that you want to share, if you have a product, if you have a service, if you're running for office, we're here. Everyone has a story, and we're here to give you that platform. My mission as a hope catalyst is to stir up the gift, instill hope, and save lives. And I say keep hope alive. I want to say good night to everybody. Thank you, Mr. Baker. Thank you, everybody, for coming and sharing and liking and commenting. And we'll see you on the next story time this Sunday. And we'll have, I think, Anthony Pope is our next one. Anthony Pope. If you know Anthony and you know what he's doing in the community, you definitely want to hear it. You're going to hear about what they just did with the Southeast Raleigh Legacy Ball that just took place in Raleigh. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss that. See y'all on the next story time. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thank you. Have a blessed one.
A catalyst for change with the chance to thrive. Crystal is the one to stir up gifts and save lives. You get exposure, promotion, and marketing too. And advertise for business owners just like you. On Storytime, your interview is global. Virtual or in person, just come on the show. Yo, your story matters. Crystals will open the door. 40 years of experience, ready to give you more on Storytime. Get ready for Storytime. Hey, come on.